Hello and welcome. I'm Lori Balderas, and I'm so happy you're here. Oh my gosh, Charles Merritt. He's my guest today.
What is this, number 4?
I don't know. I've lost track. Charles, you're here more than I am.
Just about, yeah. And I'm glad to be here. Thanks for asking me back for it. I think it is the 4th time.
Okay. Yeah. And as you can see, I'm on my set now.
Yes, absolutely.
We have your set. We have my set.
Oh, boy, I'll tell you.
I love it.
First class operation all the way. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Anyway, thank you for coming today.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
I kind of hijacked poor Charles because I came up with this idea suddenly, and he was here recording his series, and I said, hey, Charles, here's a challenge for you. So poor Charles, he had to really come up with all this information. But I think this is going to be a fun episode today.
I think so too, yeah.
Okay, so the purpose of this episode is this week is Halloween. Okay, so this week we have Halloween, and then we have the next one is All Saints Day, and then the next one's All Souls Day.
Right.
So we were talking about it and saying it was kind of like a Triduum.
Yeah, well, it's Triduum-like, yes.
It is.
Yeah.
So it's like a 3-day event.
And it does have an official title.
It does,
Yes.
which is what?
Allhallowtide.
Allhallowtide.
Yeah, so the 3-day period is Allhallowtide, and it's 3 days, so it's Triduum-like in nature, which we'll get into during the podcast.
So start taking notes for your Catholic trivia game, okay? Because I know we're going to make one of those one of these days. We're going to make millions of dollars on Catholic trivia. Anyway, so that's the first one. It's Triduum-like, and it's called Allhallowtide. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I just thought this would be interesting because everybody at this time of year, not everybody, but many, many, many people are very interested in Halloween.
Right.
It's a big holiday for lots of people. I know my children and grandchildren adore it. Right. And I think there's a lot of origin to it that is really interesting. And then people out in the world forget that there's All Saints Day and All Souls Day.
Yeah, that's true.
But All Saints Day is actually a holy day of obligation.
It is, yes.
So it's very major.
Oh, yeah, it's a big feast day in the
And I
Catholic Church.
find it funny that there's 2 holy days of obligation that come after a wild party night.
That's true.
One is All Saints Day after Halloween, and the next one is, I don't even know the official title, but it's on New Year's Day.
Oh, it's Mary, Mother of God.
Mary, Mother of God. I didn't want to get it wrong.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you're out partying on New Year's Eve, and you go, I got to go to Mass in the morning.
Yeah, the church is a smart mother.
Oh, my goodness. So anyway.
There's no coincidence when it comes
I know.
to God. Yeah.
God's trying to keep us in line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tough job.
I think we can just come up with holy days of obligation for our teenagers and go, it's a holy day of obligation. You can't go out tonight. I'm sorry. Tomorrow it's a holy day. Anyway, okay. So I love a good origin story.
Okay.
So that's why I think this will be really an interesting episode. And I also love trivia. So
Okay.
I think we'll have a mix of that.
I think
is what
we will,
I'm
yeah.
hoping.
Yeah.
And we'll also gain some knowledge.
Hopefully, ideally.
So I'm going to ask you questions. I have my questions ready.
Oh, boy.
And look, you're all laid out,
Yeah,
ready to
yeah.
go.
Now, full disclosure, I do have about 3 or 4 pages of notes because there's details and there's dates and names that I want to make sure I mention and I don't get wrong.
I like it. We need it. So get out your pencils and your paper. Do people use pencils and paper anymore?
No, I still do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
But I'm old school.
anyway,
Should we drop the hint of what this day is that we're filming?
Oh, today?
Yes.
It's Charles' birthday.
Yes. We're filming this on. Yeah, we release it on Monday the 28th. This is Wednesday the 23rd. It's my birthday.
Oh my God.
I'm officially 68 years of age.
Is that right?
How did that happen?
I don't know. Well, it happens. Okay. So
yes, I'm old school.
He's working on his birthday. Gee, we feel so honored. Okay, so let's dive in. So, what are the origin of All Hallows Eve, or in other words, Halloween?
Okay, well, let's kind of just orient ourselves. We're looking at 3 days. Officially, there's All Hallows Eve, which is Halloween. That's October 31st. And then there's All Hallows Day, which is All Saints Day. That's November 1st.
Oh.
And then there's All Souls Day, November 2nd.
Okay.
So All Hallows Eve, Halloween, the 31st. All Hallows Day, All Saints the 1st. And then All Souls Day on the 2nd.
Okay. So I think before we move on, what does hallow mean?
Hallow means holy.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, in Latin, the word for holy is sanctus. That's why when we sing or say the sanctus in Mass, it's holy, holy, holy. So in Latin, holy is sanctus. In German, holy is hallow. And in fact, if you pray the Our Father, which I'm assuming your audience does, hallowed be thy name. Holy be thy name. So hallow means holy.
So, and the Hallow app, Holy app.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, so that's good to know. Okay, so the origins of All Hallows Eve.
Right, and it can, with the 3 days, the 31st, the 1st, and the 2nd, okay, All Hallows Eve, All Hallows Day, and All Souls Day, they form it like a Triduum type thing, and they also line up, interestingly enough, with the 3 states or aspects of the Catholic Church. You know, in theology, we say there's a church triumphant, those that are in heaven, a church suffering, those that are in purgatory, and a church militant, those of us that are on earth. So you've got triumphant, suffering, and militant. Now, the way that this Triduum-like thing lines up is All Saints' Day lines up with the church triumphant, because the saints are in heaven. All Souls' Day lines up with the church suffering, the souls in purgatory, and that leaves, Halloween to line up with the church militant here on earth. So not only is it Triduum-like in that it has 3 days, each of the 3 days lines up with the 3 states or aspects of the church: triumphant, suffering, and militant.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I know I got so many notes here.
I know, I like it. So what are the origins of, okay, so we finish talking about the origins of All Hallows Eve?
Yeah, the other thing we probably should mention up front is this, we talk about All Saints' Day and what a saint is. And a saint actually is anybody that's in heaven, canonized or not. So what that means is if, let's say, Charles Merritt makes it to heaven, when I get into heaven, I am a saint. Okay. So all the people, all the souls in heaven are saints. Now the church publicly recognizes some and puts them in front of us for purposes of veneration and as good models by canonizing them. But everybody that's in heaven is a saint. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So when we do All Saints' Day, the Feast of All Saints' Day, we are honoring not just individual saints as we do throughout the liturgical year, but we're honoring all the people in heaven, all the saints, those that went before us that made it to heaven.
Beautiful. Yeah. I love that. What are the origins of All Hallows Day?
Well, All Hallows Day, first, okay, let's start with All Hallows Day. It's All Saints' Day, because that's the day, like I said, we honor all the saints. It's a feast day. It's a holy day of obligation. And interestingly enough, the whole deal with that is that back in 609, so let me backtrack a little bit more. When Rome was in its heyday, they had the Parthenon. The Parthenon was where they went to worship all their false gods, right? So now in 609, Pope Boniface IV, get this, he dedicates the Parthenon in Rome as a church, specifically to honor Mary and all the saints, more specifically still, the martyrs. All right? Now, so it's kind of like an in-your-face to all, here it is, the same place that the Romans would worship all their false gods, now is a church that honors Mary and all the saints. So you can kind of think of it as Boniface's way of kind of in your face to all those Roman gods.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So that's where it kind of gets its origin. And then it was originally in May. It was moved to November 1st because on November 1st, Pope Gregory III dedicated a chapel in the Vatican to honor all the saints. And November 1st is the day that he dedicated that chapel in the Vatican to honor all the saints. So it got moved to its present date on November the 1st.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's as far back as we know, that's its origins.
Okay. And then what are the origins of All Souls Day?
Well, All Souls Day, now this is interesting. the thinking has always been it kind of emerged out of the spread and growth of the monastic life and monastic communities, monasteries, where the monks would honor the souls of their deceased members. And over time, it spread throughout the entire church and became an official day for the Universal Church. But that's where it got its origins.
And then
from monastic life and monasteries.
All Souls Day is also called Day of the Dead, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Day of the Dead it's celebrated usually November 1st, November 2nd. It can be celebrated over multiple days.
Oh.
And the origins of that, it came from some indigenous Aztec culture, where they would honor the souls of their deceased. And they would do it by building home altars, decorating them, preparing specific foods. And it was their culture's way of honoring those that passed away that preceded them.
And that's quite celebratory.
Yes, it is. That's very celebratory.
Yeah, and that's
It's
mainly Hispanic.
Yes,
correct?
yeah. It grew out of that Aztec culture.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's and you mentioned a good point. It's very celebratory in nature. It's not a sad day at all.
Right.
It's a day to celebrate
Right.
The souls of those that went before.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, and then we already talk about the connection among the three?
Actually, we did. I kind of jumped ahead there. Yes.
Oh, he jumped ahead.
Yes.
That's okay. That's okay. Oh my gosh, don't get lost in your notes. Okay, so then I kind of want to back up to All Hallows Eve or Halloween, and I want to know if you know. I know you do because you have notes, but I want to know if you know the origins. I'm going to give you the things we're going to talk about: trick or treating, carving pumpkins,
Right.
and dressing in costume.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And each of those things, interestingly enough, has a very definite origin, a very logical and valid origin. But before we talk about those things, let's talk first about All Hallows Eve or Halloween.
Okay.
And again,
Well, those go with that.
yeah, and again with feast days, it's always been traditional for the church to prepare to celebrate a feast day the night before.
Oh, right. That's right.
So that's where we get all, because we're celebrating All Hallows Day, All Saints Day. And then preceding that, getting ready for that, so to speak, is All Hallows Eve or Halloween.
And at this moment, I don't see how the two go together, but I can't wait to hear how. Because I'm thinking, okay.
And a lot of, there'll be Mass on Halloween in the Catholic Church.
Right.
Because again, the liturgical day starts sunset the day before and goes all throughout the next day.
Okay.
So to celebrate the feast day of All Saints Day, the liturgical day starts sunset the night before.
Okay, so hold that thought. Hang on, because I want to hear more.
Okay.
We have to take a short break.
Okay.
We'll be right back. Have you ever wanted to witness the miraculous and walk where saints have walked? This is your chance. Join me, Lori Balderas, host of Fresh Catholic Podcast, and Father Matthew Miguel, as we walk with you through Italy's most sacred sites. From the Eucharistic miracles of Lanciano and Orvieto to the peace of Assisi, your heart will be transformed by these extraordinary moments of grace. You'll walk the hallowed streets of Rome, step into the history of the Vatican, and witness the places where faith has flourished for centuries. Each stop deepens your journey. Each miracle renews your soul. We invite you to join us on an unforgettable, life-changing experience.
Join us and let your faith come alive in Italy.
Have you been to freshcatholic.com yet? Our website? Oh my goodness, if you haven't, make sure you go there right after I'm done here. I want to tell you about everything we have going on there. We have the podcast is there if you can't find it anywhere else. We also have a blog, Fresh Catholic Comics. We have an online store with faith-based merchandise. It's all very exclusive to Fresh Catholic. We also have coffee that we're selling. Coffee, can you imagine? Fresh Catholic coffee, 17 flavors. It's roasted and shipped on the same day. You can save some for yourself, give it as a gift. It helps us out with our mission. We also have Educator Charles Merritt is doing a whole series of things on our website. So he did a series on sin, one on angels, one on the Our Father, one on the Hail Mary. And he's coming up with new ideas all the time. And he also is doing a Bible study. Right now, he's studying the Gospel of Mark. You don't want to miss it. So if you're behind on all those things, they're there for you to see and share with your friends. So check it out. And we're back.
Okay.
We're back. Okay.
That was short. Okay. As advertised. Okay. Okay, so you want to know about all these things that we do on Halloween.
I do.
All right. Okay, well, let's start. We got trick-or-treating, right? We got dressing up in costumes. We've got carving pumpkins, all right? Let's start with the trick-or-treating.
Okay.
Okay. That, as far as we know, can be traced to kind of medieval times where the children would do something called guising, okay? And what they would do is they would dress up and they would go door to door looking for sweets. It didn't necessarily have to be candy. It could be any type of sweet, all right? And because they dressed up in disguises, it was called guising. And they would go door to door looking for treats, basically. And that was back in the medieval times. And then also, this whole dressing up aspect goes even further than that, because there's an Irish myth called Stingy Jack.
Stingy Jack.
Jack, right?
Okay.
And
Make a note of that
yeah.
for trivia.
And the Irish mythology went like this. There was a character, he was named Jack, right? And apparently he made a bargain with the devil and tricked the devil for huge monetary gain.
He tricked the devil.
Yes.
Go Jack.
So-
Go Jack, go.
God, the myth goes, God didn't want him in heaven because he was, dealing with the devil. The devil didn't want him in hell because he got tricked. So Jack, his soul was consigned to roaming the earth for all eternity. And he's roaming the earth looking for a home to settle in because he's basically like this vagabond, right? So he's looking for a home to settle in. So what you did, because you didn't want this guy settling into your home, right? What you did is, first of all, you dressed up in scary costumes. You dressed up in a costume so he wouldn't recognize who you were.
Oh.
And it had to be scary to scare him off. Okay?
Oh.
And you would carve a kind of a scary demonic face in your pumpkin and put a light in it, right? To further scare him off.
Oh.
That's why those things are called jack-o'-lanterns, after Stingy Jack.
I love
So
that.
that's where-
I've never heard that.
That's
in
where
my life. And
that's
I'm
where
old,
creating
too.
jack-o'-lanterns, carving pumpkins,
my
and dressing up as scary. Yeah, it was all to scare away Stingy Jack from settling in your home because he'd been consigned to roaming the earth because God didn't want him in heaven because he dealt with the devil, and the devil didn't want him in hell because he got tricked by him. Stingy Jack.
Stingy
And,
Jack.
Irish folklore, Irish myth.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, which is, and so, as far as carving pumpkins, trick-or-treating, and dressing up, those are some of the origins. So they do have definite origins.
Now I wonder where it's trick or treat. Like, like you don't just walk up and ask for a treat. It's like trick or treat.
Yeah, I don't know where the trick came in because originally they went door to door looking for sweets,
Right.
looking for treats. Where the trick came in, not quite sure.
Well, now when I was little, we would say trick or treat, and we had these people that would say, okay, do a trick, like do something.
Right.
And I'm like,
Right.
okay. So then I had to come up with something. Good thing I was a ham and I always had something in my repertoire. So I could do a little something and get a treat. But
So the next time, you see, jack-o'-lanterns, these carved pumpkins on people's front porches, and people are walking around in scary costumes, think Stingy. We got Stingy Jack.
Stingy Jack, I love it. I love that.
For that. Yeah.
Okay, and so now we know about trick-or-treating, carving pumpkins, and dressing in costumes. That's
Get our
amazing.
way down the list.
I know. So Halloween's fun.
Right.
I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to love Halloween when I was little. My children absolutely love it. One of my children is obsessed with Halloween. He started decorating on September 1st. I said, no, we don't do that. And now he's 33. So he can do whatever he wants. But I'm just like, we don't do that, Cody. We wait until October 1st, but he doesn't listen. Anyway, my kids love it. But it has taken quite a sinister turn.
It has, yeah.
So I think it can be treated fun. I think it can be treated light and airy. Right. I know when I first became a Christian in 1989 and my children were really little, I wouldn't allow them to celebrate Halloween, much to my mother's chagrin because she loved Halloween.
Right.
But I didn't feel good about it. I didn't think it was right. I just became Christian. I was, I think, trying to always just do the right thing. And I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be celebrating or not. So for a few years, we didn't celebrate Halloween. And then I kind of decided, and this was back when I made up my own religion, go back and listen why I did that to the beginning episodes, but I kind of made up my own plan of how to let my children celebrate it, right, where we weren't too sinister, we weren't demonic, we weren't into blood and gore, they couldn't do scary things like that. But I do know that I have some questions about the Catholic Church and Halloween that we're going to get to in 1 minute. We're going to come right back. All right. Be right back. Thank you for tuning in today. We really appreciate you being a loyal listener. I want to remind you that in addition to our weekly topic episodes, I also do Fresh Catholic Daily, the daily Mass readings. They're nice and short, 5 to 7 minutes, perfect for your drive to work or school, or while you're cooking, cleaning, on a walk. So tune into those, get your daily dose of Jesus. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, and I do little short videos every day. So tune into those, tell all your friends, subscribe, please, rate and review. We really would appreciate it. I'm just trying to draw people to the Catholic faith or back to the Catholic faith. Help me to do that, won't you? And we're back. Okay, so Charles, should Catholics celebrate Halloween? Because I want to be sure we're doing everything
right. Yeah, and a lot of people ask the question: does the church have an official position on A, whether Catholics should celebrate Halloween, and B, how in fact they should celebrate it? And again, because you've got the church is Catholic. Catholic meaning universal comes from the word Catholicos. So we are a universal, a global, a worldwide church. So we encompass a lot of different cultures, and different cultures do things different ways. So because we're a universal church, the church doesn't have, it's not like the church doesn't have a decree on how to celebrate, whether to celebrate Halloween or how to celebrate it. The church hasn't put out any position papers, if you like, on the celebration of this holiday, because they're, it's universal. There's so many different cultures. So this is one of the areas of our faith where it's left to what's called our prudential judgment, where each individual household, each, parents have to use their prudential judgment, A, whether to celebrate it at all, and B, if they do, how to celebrate it. Because again, even though a lot of elements, as you mentioned, a lot of elements have been kind of co-opted and turned into pagan and Gothic and things like that, behind all of that is the fact that yes, you have the key is you've got All Saints Day, where we are honoring and celebrating and preserving the memories of all the saints. Okay, and then you've got All Souls Day, where we are remembering and praying for all the souls in purgatory. Those are two hugely Catholic things.
Right.
Now.
And those should be met with so much respect.
Absolutely, yeah.
And reverence.
Yes.
Those people.
Yeah, now it's preceded by Halloween, but the reason we even have a Halloween, All Hallows Eve, is to prepare for All Hallows Day, All Saints Day, and All Souls Day. So, a lot of times the Halloween aspect overshadows the All Saints aspect and the All Souls aspect. But the Halloween aspect, that day, All Hallows Eve, is in preparation for celebrating, or should be in preparation for celebrating the next 2 days, All Saints and All Souls.
Right.
Yeah.
So it also kind of reminds me, we did already kind of touch on this where it's like a triduum. So it reminds me, a lot of Easter time where, like you take these holidays where they are, I don't know well, we know Easter's obviously very, very Catholic holiday,
Right.
but it's like you take these things and most people who aren't Catholic obviously do not associate
Right.
Halloween and All Saints Day and All Souls Day. That's not really on their radar.
Right.
Even though that should be on our radar. The Halloween should be kind of the lesser of the...
Yeah, it's overshadowed the other
Right.
two, but the other two are the important ones,
Right.
the All Saints Day and the All Souls Day, and they're very Catholic.
Right.
So this whole triduum, if we look at it as just in total as one thing, it's behind the aspects that have been kind of co-opted. Behind it are two very, very Catholic things, All
Right.
Saints and All Souls. And I think along with, and we can kind of compare it with Thanksgiving and Easter. Thanksgiving for a lot of people is turkey, football, okay? Christmas for a lot of people is, buying presents and Santa Claus. But behind Christmas is the birth of our Lord.
Right.
Yeah. And behind Thanksgiving is the idea, the very Catholic idea, the very Christian idea of giving thanks. Eucharist means Thanksgiving.
Right.
Yeah. So the whole concept of being grateful, being thankful for all God has done for us.
Right.
So as Catholics, I think the challenge, both Thanksgiving, Christmas, and as well as Halloween, is to kind of pierce behind kind of what they've been co-opted to become in the larger culture, to pierce behind that, to pierce through that, and kind of reacquaint ourselves with the Catholicness of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, and I do feel like one of the jobs as parents and grandparents is to teach our children, especially Catholic children, obviously, is the importance of Easter, Christmas, like you say, Thanksgiving, All Saints Day, all these very Catholic holidays. Yeah. And it's still fun to dress up and go trick-or-treating. It's still fun to hunt for Easter eggs and have a chocolate bunny. It's still fun to celebrate with Santa Claus. All those are fun.
Right.
But the real thing that we need to be teaching, or else it's going to get lost in our world because everything else overpowers it. Yeah. Overpowers what's really important in our Catholic faith.
Right.
So we need to, it's fun to do those things, but those are so secondary. And if we don't teach our children and grandchildren that, they're going to think all those holidays are more important.
Right.
And they overshadow the more meaningful things that are really going to help us to be better Catholics.
Yeah. And therein lies a great, because the challenge for us Catholics is to pierce through kind of how the culture may have co-opted all these things, to pierce through that and kind of, refresh our minds as far as the Catholic aspect of it. That's a challenge, but if we can meet that challenge, it's a great way to grow in our faith as well and become strong in our grace or our faith.
And also, all those things can be incorporated into a lot of really good family time, a lot of good time to be learning together as a family.
Yeah.
Like to research things and say, hey, this is what we should be doing. Hey, this is where this came from. This is why we do this. Right. And you do it as a family because, again, a lot of people were raised in the faith. They don't know why we're doing things or what the reason is behind it. And so we can learn with our children. Absolutely. Maybe that's a good way we can kind of we go, I'm going to help you to learn. Let's research, but actually we're trying to learn.
Yeah, a thought that just came to mind is we can do our own little Pope Boniface IV, where he took a Roman pantheon and completely turned it around to honor the Mary and the saints and the martyrs. Right? Well, we can take these, whether it's Christmas, Thanksgiving, or Halloween, we can take those things, which to a large degree have kind of been co-opted by the culture, turn them around and focus on the Catholic aspects.
Right. Absolutely.
So we can be our own little Pope Boniface IV.
Little Pope Boniface IV. That's so cute. Yeah. So the church doesn't really have a position, but I would say, obviously, just use your best judgment. Yeah. We don't want to just go crazy and everybody can, again, kind of temper what the children are doing. I don't think it needs to be a big bloodbath.
Right.
And, you know, it's fun. It can be fun, but I think it's when it steps over the line of being too sinister. And, you know, that goes along with, honestly, everyday life.
Yeah.
If you're doing anything that's, you know, going too far, has anything with a sinister background, anything that's going to separate you from the Lord, anything that's going to hurt or harm yourself or others, those are obviously bad things, but people get swept up in this stuff.
They do, yeah. And it's like anything good can be abused, misused, perverted into something that's bad. Holidays notwithstanding.
Right, so kind of keep it light and airy. So, and you've already said what a saint is.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And the other thing is, you know, we're talking about the Catholicness of that lies behind this is, you know, I mean, hallows, holy, all saints, saints. I mean, you know, we're talking Catholic language there.
Right.
You know, so and so, you know, All Saints Day, All Souls Day, and the day that precedes it, Halloween. I mean, there's Catholicness all through that.
Right.
If we can kind of keep our eye on that ball.
Right.
You know.
Okay, so before I let you go. Okay, I'm just gonna, now he doesn't have notes for this. I'm doing it. He doesn't know. I'm gonna put him on the spot. And it's his birthday.
Can I leave now? No.
No, you can't escape. You have to sit here. Okay, no, it's not bad. It's not bad. It just came to my head.
That's good thing I'm sitting now. Okay.
So, speaking of like Halloween and everything and all this time of year, so do you recall when you were a kid, like how did you celebrate Halloween?
Typically, I dressed up in the costume. It was basically, it wasn't really a macabre type costume. It was a costume of like my famous cartoon character Spider-Man or something like that, or Casper the Friendly Ghost or something like that. So it was a rather harmless costume. And you know, we went, you know, we'd take a group, and you know, parents would stay on the curb, and we'd run up to the porch and get the candy. So I did the trick or treating. I dressed up in a costume. Yeah.
Well, and I believe it was just very wholesome back in the day.
Yeah.
What you did, that's exactly what we did. Like I grew up in a neighborhood where we had sidewalks and street lights.
Yeah.
And it was very safe. And as time went on, people used to bring busloads of people to our neighborhood because it was so safe.
Okay.
And my mother was the cookie lady, is what she was called. So my mother would make these little not little, but they were like this big, pumpkin face cookies. And it became quite a production. And she would make the cookies. We all had to take shifts decorating them. They all had to be the same. Then we had to let them dry. Then we had to bag them.
Oh my gosh.
And then she handed them out one at a time and looked people in their eye. It was a big production, but she had a line outside
I can see why, yeah.
And she became very famous for this.
Yeah.
And she had the children of the neighborhood come every year, and then they ended up bringing their children, and then they brought their grandchildren. And finally, my mother was done, and she's like, I'm done.
And what did the people do when
They were so sad.
Yeah, I bet.
So now she kind of makes them privately sometimes for people. But, you know, my mom is elderly now.
Right, yeah.
But this was a big thing. This was very well known.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so
They
special.
brought buses in.
I know. But
it put us to shame. We just go to the store and buy bags of candy and put them in like a, you know, one of those plastic.
And she would tell the children, do not throw this cookie away. Like she'd look at them, do not throw this cookie away. I made this cookie. It's not poison. Here, take it. And she talked to the parents. But now I feel like kids just kind of run. It's way different. It's kind of a free-for-all. But I think it used to be such a cool like holiday and I thought it was very safe.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, definitely.
So I had good memories. And similar to you, I would dress like, you know, I don't know, depending on the year, what I was. I had some good costumes. I was never anything scary.
Right.
But then it morphed into my children, and they planned their costumes a month in advance. My youngest son, because he was such a lover of Halloween, he had maybe 4 costumes.
Oh my God.
Because he would like change it up, and he would wear them for all these different things. Anyway, but they really loved it. But I just think, you know, we need to be careful more now these days.
Yeah.
And things are, you know, have somewhat a little bit sinister spin to it. I think a lot of people aren't even trick-or-treating anymore.
Yeah, you don't. Again, this is a long time ago, but it seems to me that I don't see as many because every house back then,
Right.
on every block,
Right.
had something going on. And now, a lot of times,
Right. So I think, it's good to come up with some creative things. Like I know they do trunk or treats.
Yeah.
I know they have a thing like at our church, a lot of churches have an event and they'll have people park in the parking lot and they'll hand out candy. So, it's a safe environment. That's kind of fun. I know some places have the children dress as saints,
Yeah.
which I think is very cool to
Yeah.
do like a saint parade. I think that's a really cool idea. So if you're, you might give that idea to your school, especially if you're a Catholic school. I think that's a fun idea. I think it's really important for All Saints Day to, leading up to it, have your children maybe learn about the saints.
Yeah.
So on All Saints Day that they can have a better idea, because I'm not going to get this right. What's the prayer? Do we, maybe we only do it, the Litany of Saints,
Yes.
which they sing, and it's like singing a lot of the saints' names.
Right, yeah.
I love that. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So maybe your children could learn about the different saints or pick a couple of saints to learn about. That would be a good idea. And then as far as Day of the Dead, I think that's also a really cool time to teach your children about that tradition. Even if you're not in the Hispanic, that's not your heritage, but learn about it.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. Like instead of just breezing over this time of year and focusing only on Halloween, I think it's a good learning opportunity for your family.
Yeah.
And then I know we have special masses, and I think it's important to go to those and pray for these people and just make it a more rich time of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things I love about being Catholic is there's things throughout the year.
Yeah.
It's not just Easter and Christmas.
No.
And it's, we're always celebrating something, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, and the church has even said that because the liturgical year has things all throughout the year, the church recommends that we kind of try and get our lives into the rhythm of the liturgical year.
Right.
Because the liturgical year does have a rhythm to it.
Right.
We can align our lives to that rhythm.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do, what you said earlier about, that there's, the eve of something or the preparation for it. I feel like as Catholics, we prep, we anticipate.
Yeah.
There's, obviously Advent, Lent.
Yes.
I think those are, to me, especially Advent. I love Advent. And I never had that on my radar, Advent. I had an Advent calendar, but I didn't really understand what that was when I was little because I wasn't Catholic or religious, but I liked it. But I think the preparation for these things and then learning about them and then going through whatever we're prepping for, I think it's beautiful. And speaking of Advent, we have an Advent series coming up.
Yes, we do.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
4 episodes, yeah.
4 episodes coming up. This was like a little teaser.
Yeah,
Was I allowed to say that? I don't know. Production, am I allowed to say that?
Well, you said it. The cat's out of the bag now. You can't do it.
What? Cat's out of the bag. Okay.
Well, I
anyway.
suppose you could edit it out.
Well,
but that would be
I'm excited
more than
about
just
it.
life. But, this whole business of preparation, because these things are big. Obviously, Easter is big. Christmas is big. All Souls Day is big. All Saints Day is big. And part of the church's way of conveying the bigness of these things is to, front end them with a period of preparation, whether it's just a day, as in the case of Halloween, All Hallows Eve, leading into All Saints and All Souls, or whether it's in the case of a season, Advent season or Lent season.
Right.
It's perfectly within the line of the church to indicate the bigness of things by preparing and anticipating them beforehand.
Great. Yes, I agree.
And that's exactly what All Hallows Eve or Halloween as we know it is. It is that period of time that actually the church gives us to prepare for and anticipate the celebration of All Saints and All Souls Days.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you wanted to say before we move on with our day and let you get back to your birthday? Let you make it so you don't have to continue working any longer than you have already?
Well, I do have a question for you, and that is, how evidently you didn't take over the reins of cookie making from your mom.
No. She didn't
Now,
let me.
why is this for you? Why
Well-
didn't you carry on the tradition?
Okay, so
Your
here's-
audience wants to
I know. I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
So
This is
my mother
okay.
didn't give it to anybody. Nobody
She
took it over.
retired it completely.
She retired it completely. Nobody took it over. I wanted the cookie cutter. I didn't get it. My son got it because she loves him the most. So he got the cookie
There we go.
cutter. And I don't know what he'll do with that. Probably nothing. None.
he still
I'll
have
tell you
it?
what. Yes, I'm sure he does. If he doesn't, he's in big trouble. Nobody could make him like my mom. So that's part of it. She had a secret. And I know the secret, but I mean, it's like, I'm not going to be able to make her cookies.
Yeah, that's true.
So we just looked at it as a thing that she did, and she just blessed
And
so
you
many
honored it
people
in
with
that
it.
way.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was very cute. And so anyway, so that was my,
Now the other question I have to
oh,
ask
yes,
you
another
is-
one.
Yeah. So, personally speaking,
Now I'm in the hot seat.
there would always be that house or two where they would give you like an apple or an orange. And when you're a kid, you don't want that stuff.
Right.
You know, you kind of you know, oh, come on, what is this? What did you do? Did you get any apples and oranges? And what did you do with them when you got back home and you emptied out your bag and you sorted out your candy? What did you do with the healthy stuff?
I definitely never got an apple or an orange.
Really?
I always got candy, and I would do what everybody does in the entire world. I would bring it home, dump it on the floor. My parents would look for razor blades.
Even back then?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Which never happened. But we would look through the candy, and then I would eat it. I wasn't allowed to eat anything until they looked at my candy.
Okay.
That was a rule. I had that with my kids. Don't touch it. And then
And you weren't self-paced. They said you can only eat so much candy each day, right? You didn't.
yeah, I was a good kid, though. I wasn't very rebellious.
Because I would have
at
been
that
like
point.
on full feet. I would have eaten the whole bag at
No.
once, which would
No.
be good. So.
No, that's that.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
See, we always like to give your audience a little bit more.
That's right.
for
That's
tuning in.
right. No, I didn't have that. And then when I gave out candy, I mean, we made Halloween such a production when I was, raising my kids, that my house was the house people came to do photos in front of the house because we had it so decked out.
Wow.
It was awesome. Yeah.
Interesting.
It was a good time back then.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
Yeah, I feel deprived that it didn't grow up in your neighborhood.
And I would just give handfuls of candy.
Oh, that's another question.
I would
How
just
would you-
like,
would you give one or two?
no.
You just-
My mom would give, if they didn't want a cookie, she'd give them one piece of candy. One. And I would give handfuls. I just loved to do it.
Okay.
It was so fun.
You gave abundantly.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Now, how many cookies did your mom give out per?
Hundreds.
No, per customer, per
Oh, one.
reader, just one.
One.
Okay. All right. Never two.
No.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's what I have to say about all that.
Okay. Well, we should
I feel like this was really, I feel like I got some good tidbits.
Yeah. Well, that's probably why we did this podcast.
I know. I like it.
But
Good job.
to bring everything full circle, I would say, if you ask me, well, what's the bottom line? The bottom line is kind of to keep our eye on the ball. That Halloween is Hallows Eve. It's designed to prepare and anticipate the two big things, which are All Saints Day and All Souls Day.
Right.
And if we, as Catholics, if we can keep our eye on that ball, and kind of reappropriate, if you will, the Catholic elements of this Allhallowtide, this Triduum-like thing, I think, because, the culture's co-opted a lot of it, and there's nothing to say we can't co-opt it back.
Right.
So,
That's right. Or like I said, educate.
Yeah.
Educate your children, educate yourselves. And I think it's beautiful.
yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, thank you, Charles. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'd sing, but I'm not going to.
So that's quite okay.
Okay. Anyway, thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me once again.
Thank you. Love you. Bye.